Hi, everyone. My name is Denise. I'm a health freedom activist in California, and I'm co-founder of Freedom Angels.
Hi guys, I'm Heidi. I'm another co-founder of Freedom Angels, and I live in the San Francisco Bay Area of California.
Hi, I'm Tara, also of Freedom Angels, and live in the Northern Sierra Nevada mountains of California.
Thank you for joining our Live at 5 every day, Monday through Friday, to discuss freedom and liberty. If you could please start a watch party or share this video due to censorship. We want to make sure we get to the top of your newsfeed. Today, we're going to be talking about manipulation from the media, from politicians, all the way around. They have manipulated the information and started this fear-mongering war they have on us. So we're just going to talk about what we find out every single day and bring it to you guys. So some interesting information came out from Candace Owens. If you guys do not follow her, I suggest you do. But she has found out that the governor of Connecticut has lied about the infant death that occurred, saying that it was from COVID-19. And this isn't the first time that this is happening. We're seeing LA has said that a person died and then retracted, then stated patient privacy. When has there ever been patient privacy when it comes to something like this?
Yeah, and talk about really a disgusting way of politicizing something coming from the governor of Ned Lamont of Connecticut, literally on the death of an infant. And as Candace Owens so beautifully expresses in her video, we should definitely put that link on here, he literally misled the most vulnerable group of people, which is mothers and mothers of, pregnant and expecting mothers, mothers of young infants, families with young babies, to be afraid, literally, for their, that their infant, that an infant was at a high risk, essentially. That, I mean, no one's saying that it can't be caught by just any human, but it's still, he used it. He very carefully used his words to make it sound like this infant died from COVID, when actually it was a completely different, it was actually a household accident, and he knew that. And she says that it's to gain, federal money to keep the lockdown going because it's so severe, and now even infants are dying, and whatever that may be. She, and I think everyone else, is calling for his immediate resignation. I mean, shame on him for doing that. This is just, This is the gross negligence.
He's scaring these mothers, these families, while telling them that they can't have their partners with them, while they can't have their family with them. This is going to cause an influx of people having births at home. I hope it does. I mean, why do you want to even go to a hospital at this point when they have no idea what's going on? Their masks are shortages. And can we just talk about this real quick? I'm sorry, this is totally off subject, but I went to the store today, and they're completely shamed for being at the store, from people who are pushing their carts with their gloves and their hands, grabbing things from the shelf, pushing the cart, and using those same gloves and using the same mask inside their cars, touching everything. Can you guys just not shame people unless you actually know how to use this personal protective equipment properly? I mean, that was just my thing. Didn't want to forget to say that. But I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous to fearmonger with these types of lies. This is the worst type of lie you can say, to say that a baby died over this illness for federal money.
I love one of the things that Candace Owens said in that video. She said, if you yell fire in a crowded movie theater, you will be arrested and charged. And this is what we should be calling for on Governor Lamont. He did the worst version you can imagine of that during the worst crisis the entire world has ever experienced and is living in. I mean, let's put up some calls to action on that as well.
Absolutely, we have to start. We have to start doing that. I mean, they're going to keep on doing this unless we start calling out their bullshit. This is crazy that this is the kind of fear mongering people are allowing. from the news to politicians.
Oh, and more than anything, this is like, you know, what can we do? We can call out the lies. Prove us wrong. Tell us we're wrong. Like, keep calling out the lies everywhere you see them. Keep questioning everything you're being told and you're hearing. And keep having that same conversation, not just in social media, but in, you know, in personal calls and messages with people you know. Because this is what we got to do, call out the lies. Say, show me the proof. You know, I actually want to read something that Tucker Carlson said. He did a really interesting piece that we'll link last night on the origins of the coronavirus vaccine. I mean, I'm sorry. Woo! Oh, sorry, didn't mean to say that. You can tell it's on my mind. The origins of the coronavirus from inside a bat called the intermediate horseshoe bat out of Wuhan, China. And it's not found anywhere near the Wuhan wet market, like nowhere near it. It's found far, far away, and it's never been sold. Like they've done lots of, you know, investigative work now to find out that it's never been sold in the market. So clearly, these bats, which are known to be, bats in general are known to carry a lot of viruses within them. This bat was brought to the Wuhan lab for purposes of experimentation. Yeah, we know what that is. Developing bioweapons, defense, and offense. That's what those labs are about. So for whatever reason, it's believed that it got out of the lab. There's talk about it coming out through some infected animal material that had been experimented on, that a worker might have got arrested for taking it out and selling it to the market. But whatever it is, Tucker Carlson talks about how this is being, like, it's coming more and more to the forefront that this is kind of the origins of it, but that the media shuns anyone who wants to talk about it or, you know, is misleading on information. And I want to read what Tucker Carlson said at the end of his thing. It's like about a minute. It is so on point for everything we're talking about, for the entire situation that we're all experiencing. This is what he said. He said, he's basically talking about misinformation or word salad, etc. And he says, let's see, one of the surest ways to know if people are lying to you is when they answer questions you didn't ask. And that's what the professional class is doing on this story. They do it on many fronts. They're lying to you. They're claiming to know things they don't know. They're dismissing the obvious as impossible. They're blaming you for their failures, and the media are helping them to do it. The stakes are too high to let them continue this way. So no matter what, stay skeptical as you assess the world. Remain rational. Gather your own evidence. Come to your own conclusions. You shouldn't have to do that. You ought to be able to trust the people in charge, but you can't. So at this point, you have no choice. Amen.
That is absolutely on point. I mean, people are acting crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, they are acting crazy. We have our police officers arresting a lone man at a beach for swimming in the salt water out of fear while they're not wearing masks, and they're right next to him, arresting him. I mean, it's time for people to start asking the questions and start looking deeper than just listening to, you know, Fox News telling you all of these things that just to scare you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And
I mean, Tucker Carlson laid it out there. That's the call to action.
No, it is. And I think we do need to be strategic when we are allowed to go out for our essential activities. Have to give a shout out to my New York peeps right now. Look what shirt I wore when I went out today. So thank you so much to Rita Palma and all New York guys. It was great seeing the reactions from people as I was walking around. They're just like, what? it makes him stop. I mean, we're having to see all these signs everywhere we go, and people are kind of refusing to talk because they're behind masks. But I think we need to be more strategic about how we dress when we go out.
Be a walking billboard. I mean, that's the only thing we can do, right? We can be a walking billboard. I wear my t-shirts out, and you know, you're going to get those looks, but you're going to get people who are going to say, wait a minute, that's true. This is where the engagement happens, and where we can start talking to people who will pull you aside and whisper it, like, what is that? You know, we have to start thinking outside the box, and resisting means that it means getting to more people, talking to people so they start questioning the lies that they have been told from mainstream.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love that you wore that.
This is so awesome.
I know, it's the perfect shirt. Heidi. Yeah, and in case you didn't see it, it says, we spread truth, not disease.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant thought for Rita. Goes out to Rita.
And, you know, also I want to say something from New York, heard today that, you know, last week they made restricted construction, we talked about the other day, as a non-essential. And one of their guidelines is you can only have one person working at a time if you're doing some construction or maintenance. And talked to someone in New York today who's heard one firsthand and three firsthand people who've been fined $10,000 for having more than one person working, like two people working. And one of them, they're two guys that work in an industry together, and they were kind of helping each other for a few minutes in a yard. And one of the other guys said, hey, there's a neighbor looking at us, and I don't got a good feeling about this. You should probably leave. Now, mind you, they were following hygienic practices, you know, distancing. And so one of the guys left. Within minutes, two plainclothes cops rolled up to check in on them.
That's,
you know, and to give a $10,000 fine.
They better be damn sure that this stuff is constitutional.
Like you said, that paddle boarder was right. Like that paddle boarder in Malibu yesterday that was arrested for solo paddling, paddleboarding out by the Malibu pier, and then he was, you know, charged with two counts of misdemeanors. One, not following the orders of stay at home, and the other, not listening to a lifeguard when they asked him to come in.
That's a crime.
Yes, now
really?
It is.
To not listen to a lifeguard. So now lifeguards are responsible for the law enforcement on beaches like that. Get out of here. That's really dangerous to do that with construction. You know, Primo works in construction, and usually you need a partner, you know, because things can get, depending on what you're doing, things can get a little dangerous. And to say that you can't have more than, you know, you can't have two people working, that's putting that person's life in danger. You never know, depending on what, you can't say construction as a blanket, because so many different positions land under that title. Like Primo's a traffic controller. He has to have a partner. He has to have someone watching his back. Yep. This is going to end very, very badly.
I agree. And so should we talk a little bit about Bill Gates, or how about the picture of him walking with Fauci?
I can't stand that man.
I want to read David Knight's brilliant tweet that's been getting, like, thank God it's been getting like trending on Twitter. Let's keep that trending. We'll post it. He said, Denise, you posted it too. Just a reminder, Gates is not a doctor. Gates is not an epidemiologist. Gates is not elected. Gates is not even a lifetime bureaucrat. So why is he the authority? It's the plandemic.
I cannot believe we have government listening to him. Who is he?
I know.
I think it's important for people to look into his lineage, like who are his parents, who was his father, like start connecting the dots, people, like do your research.
Who was his father?
Who was his father? What has he said over and over again? These are not conspiracies when they came directly out of his mouth, people. But I understand you have to gently walk into it with individuals, because many do see him as a savior. They really, really do.
It's bizarre who these people are trusting. You're trusting this guy, right? They tell us we're not doctors. We can possibly talk about vaccines, but you're trusting this man who doesn't have the education that he should have in order to talk about shutting down the economy due to a virus. Now we're seeing big tobacco companies are wanting to create a vaccine. Where are we in society where we're trusting these types of people with our healthcare now, with our state-ran healthcare? Because that's what this is. We can't choose anymore, even though we have that right to try, right? We can't choose anymore because they're telling us what we can and cannot take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, making executive orders around it. You know, so we were talking about ways to fight back. I mean, if anyone knows me, knows one thing I'm most afraid of, the thing I'm most concerned on right now is the steps to get the economy and society functioning again. Very concerned about about mandatory testing, antibody serology testing and surveillance tracking testing. That is, what we are hearing and being told is going to be required for us to get back into the workplace and get the back going. And I got to say, if there's any place to battle on, it's that ground. And how does that look? I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's going to have to be like a pretty crazy battle, because it has to be at the point of entry into work, into schools, into entertainment. I know if you're in a big company, that's going to be very hard because they set policies that are going to be very hard to, this has to be human to human. That's what it really has to be. It has to be human to human, where we're, with coworkers, with business owners, with schools members, teachers, and administrators. We have to say, this is not the way our community is willing to go on this. Again, when you identify the people who are making these decisions, I think, beyond just what we see Gates and Fauci and Trump and Governor Cuomo and Governor Newsom and, Lamont and Murphy, these guys, there's also the county level, the hyper local level. And we also have to, while we still have to reach out into the higher levels of this, we have to also be working at the hyper local level, because every county has a public health officer. Every county has officers of emergency services and sheriffs and various regulatory and governing boards and different business entities, business groups and merchants groups. And it's there that we're going to have these conversations and fight. And that's why, who are in those positions, the people in those positions really matter. The vision they hold. And in moments like this, it's also, they have to have balls, man. People are going to have to be bold for us to move forward in this, in a direction that is, healthy, preserving of health and wellness and freedoms.
Well, speaking of Mr. Gates, here's something else that got brought up today from our really good friend Sandy, who does amazing digging. Do you know this Mr. Gates, he has so much time to get around. Today, he hosted a live with Sal Khan, and you guys know that's a Khan Academy. It's one of the most well-known virtual schooling platforms. And in the live that happened today at noon Pacific Standard Time, Sandy said she heard them say, Gates himself say, COVID-19 vaccine will be here in time for the next school year. So that's and why he's breaking. Denise, you're muted.
Oh. Okay.
Denise, do you want to go into that other piece about the fast tracking of these kinds of things?
Oh, she's getting muted again.
Oh,
there, she's back on.
That was weird. I didn't touch my phone. Okay, well, let's see if this works. So people get really excited on these news stations when there's this new vaccine that is being talked about, fast-tracked vaccine, a vaccine that skipped animal trials and went straight to human trials. 3 to 4 months of clinical trials that happened. They think that's a great thing. They fail to realize these vaccines get put on the schedule. So your 3 to 4 trial vaccine is now going to be mandated on a schedule for your child to enter school. So really, we are the long-term studies. I have a really good friend who works for the pharmaceutical companies, and there's a therapeutic that is coming out on April 8th is when they're going to start it in the Bay Area. Again, this one was fast-tracked. It's going to happen, it's actually happening, the first shot happens today, and the rest will get, announced on April 8th, which is a very interesting day that Heidi was talking about to me. But this is what's happening. This is becoming acceptable to fast track pharmaceuticals, to fast track therapeutics. People want it right now without realizing we don't know what it does long term. We don't know in a year if it's going to make you infertile. We don't know in a year if it's going to cause cancer. We don't know. So we have material that does work, that has long-term studies, that has information we need, and it's showing to actually work and help these patients. And instead, what they're doing is waiting for this company, Roche Pharmaceuticals, to come out with this particular drug and sell it at an up cost instead of the $20 for the other drugs. Yep. I mean, this is profits over people per usual. If we need to start asking the questions. We need to start asking, why can't we use this drug? And now you're waiting for this pharmaceutical company to recreate it when we already have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yep, we've been hearing about the therapeutics. Yeah, I've been hearing about the therapeutics coming. Yeah, they're patented, lucrative therapeutics. And this particular drug that Denise is talking about is an immunosuppressant that's been used in rheumatoid arthritis treatments, like hydroxychloroquine, which is also malaria treatment, but it's also used in rheumatoid arthritis patients. But guess what? It's an old remedy, plant-based, and it costs $20 for a full course of treatment. But I'm sure this one is going to be very, very expensive and lucrative for the industries. And, so there you have that. So that's why they've been pushing only ventilators.
Right. It's one company creating the kits, the COVID kits. They're creating it.
Yeah.
One company who's creating the serum for this therapeutic when we already have it. And instead of talking to patients and governors and, state leaders talking to the general public, this has worked. This therapeutic has worked, which brings the panic level down. Because when you know that there's something that actually works, you're not going to be panicked that you're going to die. So they're being irresponsible per usual. It's the per usual manipulation that you're going to die unless you have this particular vaccine or this particular therapeutic drug by this particular pharmaceutical drugs. I would like to see what their ties are to all of these politicians. Really, follow the money.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, think about it here. The epicenter is the Bay Area. The Bay Area is the epicenter of the technocracy. The Bay Area is also the epicenter of biotech as well. So it's all here. Zuckerberg, all of them. It's the perfect meeting and merging of these. And that's why this is all happening. This is not coincidence. None of this is coincidence. So helping people connect the dots is needed more than ever right now.
Right. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying give you the information so you can look a little bit deeper than just watching mainstream media and being scared for your life. The knowledge that you have once you start digging will make you feel not so scared. It's going to bring down your panic, and people are going to be able to talk to other humans without feeling like, oh my God. I mean, you walk by people in a store and they're not even looking at you right now.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty, I can stand up for myself, and it's really hard for me to get uncomfortable, but boy, am I uncomfortable in the store with my kid. They're looking at my kid like he's full of diseases. And I'm like, wait, he's not even the one sick. It's you guys sick. You should stay home.
This is the crazy thing that we've gone over the cliff again. You guys know that now they're putting restrictions that children aren't even allowed in stores anymore. So where somebody had the brain cells to target children and to think that what are single parents doing or working parents, or, you know what I mean? There's 100 million reasons why a child has to come with their parent or guardian into a store. So we're going to leave children unattended in cars and homes? Like, what?
And children who are disabled. We have a
Yeah.
high rate of children with autism right now. We have a pandemic of children with autism right now.
Yes, we do.
We have a pandemic of families that have been torn apart by this pandemic. So now you have single parents who have 20-year-old autistic children who cannot possibly be left alone. And
Yep.
now what? Who's going to deliver to them for free? Who's going to go and take them their items, and so they don't have to take their children? This is so out of hand. People have went off the deep end. They stop watching the news. That's all I can say.
Right.
So that's that. I mean, I don't know. I think people
It
need
keeps
to.
getting crazier and crazier.
They do.
You know?
They do.
And just thinking, and I guess, yeah, I'm really big about the hyper local pushback. Like, and it's hard when you're in your homes, but no one's more than 1 or 2, degrees away from another person. So just start having the conversations, and get through, just start reaching out who just keep talking, because it's in California, at least I know, in New York, I'm sure, we're days or weeks away from really having to have a real different battle where we're saying, we're going back to our workplaces, not based on your predetermined set of rules of, what it's going to look like. We can't let that be determined without our involvement. That's in our hands, not theirs. And it's in our hands to tell them that.
Yeah.
I don't know how we do it, but I just know that.
Well, when people ask, how do we resist this? How do we stop this? How do we fight that? I think a lot of them think that you have to be screaming in the streets with a pitchfork ready to go to war. But what you can do locally is you get your people together, go on your local police pages and all these local pages, start getting people who are concerned with what's going on to call these local public health officers, to call your local PD and to start fighting back as a group. Because if they get one phone call from someone, they're just going to blow it off. It's time to start getting your people together, start talking on your local pages, and start telling them to call your public health officer, your police department, your sheriff's office, all of the people who are, Office of Emergency Services, all these people who are responsible for these decisions need to be hearing from you. We have nothing else to do. We are home. We can make these phone calls.
Yes.
Yep.
And also, I just still want to encourage everybody, we really cannot be operating in fear about talking with our neighbors and anybody that we do come in contact when we're out and about. Be ready to allow them the space, hold the space for them to lose their minds, to crash into fear. This is just one tiny example of fear I experienced when this whole thing happened. I had we catastrophize whenever the rug gets pulled out from under us. And one tiny experience I had was I had this moment of sheer panic where I was like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. We're being locked down. I am not going to be able to buy my kids shoes. And this was not a materialistic thing. This was literally like, my child's about to outgrow shoes and will literally have nothing to wear. And I don't know if I'm going to get access to shoes. And you just swirl and swirl and swirl. All but to say, I verbalized this to my child. And do you know what my child said back to me? He said, Mommy, that's all right. Haven't you taught us through the Native Americans that shoes are actually really unhealthy for us? They keep us from being grounded on the earth. And so I'm totally fine if I don't have shoes and I grow out of shoes. I'm going to walk barefoot. It's healthier for us. And if I really need shoes, I'm going to make them myself. So there's always a way around. And we need to hold the space because people are spiraling. They are spiraling into fear because they truly, truly believe there is not going to be a bed in the hospital for their child or themselves when they get COVID, or that there's not going to be a ventilator. Or today, the revelation that I got today, churches are still a hot topic. If you really want to explore somebody's fear, bring up churches. But today what I found out was that it really boils down to people are so scared about these healthcare workers, that these healthcare workers are now going to die because of that. And a lot of them have loved ones in the healthcare field. And then it's so bad that they're not even going to get to attend their funeral. So I get it. That mind, you know what? That is so over the line. And they did that in purposely, guys. That's what you have to understand. The control, the system, the people who wrote those public health orders, they knew exactly what they were doing psychologically to write in to say funerals are now being limited to 10 people. The CDC says it too. That is, and births being limited. Guys, they're doing that to control you so that you're in such a state of fear, you can't think past anything else. So you have to let them experience that fear, work through that fear. Once you get to the bottom, say, I pray you well. We got to the bottom. And once you get to the bottom of the fear, there's nothing left but up.
I can attest to that. I mean, Heidi, you had to bring me in yesterday. I mean, we all experience it. Any advocate can tell you the same thing. Just because we know what's going on doesn't mean that the fear doesn't hit us. It hits me really bad because I have shared custody. So it's a really, really hard thing to have my child separated from me at a time like this. There's a lot of factors involved, but it's a fear that we have in. So we have to have people in our circle like Heidi and Tara who do bring me back in, say, you just got to let go and let God. But fear makes you act so irrational. So it's really easy to fall into that. I get it, but this is where we try to talk to you guys and we try to bring you back to get the information, reel you back in to make a better decision for your health, for the health of your family, because when mom spirals, the whole entire household is going to spiral.
It's true.
Well, and that's why it's so shameful what Governor Ned Lamont of Connecticut did, where he lied about the infant dying with COVID, implying it was from COVID. And it's why it's so shameful that, the death statistics we're hearing over and over again, how they're being manipulated by how they have to report them and how they're reporting them as a COVID death when it's really like, you may be an asymptomatic carrier or have been under suspicion of even having COVID, like a person under investigation. So again, lying about, the misinformation and lying about the data on COVID death numbers, the misunderstanding of the actual broad numbers of people that have had it and been exposed, those things have all put people into this state of panic and fear. And this is how, and then by, people stay in their houses and we allow these shutdowns to go down. And now pretty soon, well, you know how it is. Everyone is going to be so hurting financially, so in need of relief from the anxiety and fears that they're going to accept the certificates of immunity and antibodies and the surveillance tracking and the vaccines. When all along we've had therapeutics that help keep your immune system healthy and natural therapeutics like vitamin C, D, and A and iodine nebulizers, where we've had affordable things like hydrochloroquine, Z-Paks, and zinc sulfate that have been shown to be effective, especially early stages, to keep people out of the hospitals and stuff. So again, like if that information is shared more, it takes the fear away, and then never be afraid to go out there and call the truth, like say who's lying when they're lying, because and let it be on them to prove otherwise.
Yeah, we have to start holding these people accountable. We've seen healthcare professionals take advantage, like that patient yesterday that I shared with you guys.
God, horrific.
Grown men sobbing because they were held against their will and completely shocked that this is America and this is what's happening in our healthcare system. This is not to say that all healthcare professionals are evil, but healthcare professionals are human. And sometimes humans don't always make the right choices when they believe something's completely opposite. I have been encouraging people, if you go to the doctors, you're going to have to start, documenting what's going on, your interactions with these doctors if you can. interactions with healthcare professionals and interactions with the police officers. I mean, like I said, they better be sure that this is constitutional, because a lot of people have woken up and a lot of people are now fighting back. So, you know, it may feel like we're trapped right now, but just document, get your people together, make sure that you protect yourself and your safety, because nobody else is going to come save you, man. This is you. You're your savior. We cannot depend on the government or anybody else to come with their knight in shining armor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and remember to keep advocating and talking about safe, natural, effective, affordable therapeutics, treatments for this, you know, for coronavirus. The more we advocate and push on that, the better.
Okay, so it looks like obviously, again, we went over our 30 minutes.
Yeah, we
did.
Before we go for the weekend, I want to say hi to all of our friends out there, old and new, that have been coming. You know, we haven't been enough time really to be doing the interactive, but we want you to know how much it means to us that you're there and to feel connected with you and in community and kinship with you. So
yes.
I just want you to know how much it means.
It does. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and for listening, for sharing. Please remember, we do have a YouTube channel. It's Freedom Angels, where all of our videos will be up on there, along with the links with things that we have spoken about. We will be back on Monday with our live at 5. And again, everything will be set up on our YouTube channel. You could email us at freedomangels@protonmail.com. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. And anybody who's watching this on the replay, please comment replay, and your comments mean a lot to us. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Or just say hi.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.
Bye.